Sit down, Marvin. This is an incredibly important episode. Hey, everybody, and welcome to We Watch TV. It is the podcast about the TV that we watch. I am Daniel. She is Hope. This is episode 100. Marvin is staring at me, our third co-host. He is here, and he is active, and he is ready to fight, it looks like.
He doesn't care that it's the 100.
He doesn't care that it's 100. He doesn't care if it's 1. He just wants pets and loves and occasionally a WWE match with me.
He wants cuddles from me.
But as we said, this is our 100th episode. It's kind of crazy to do 100 of anything. And here we are 100 episodes into a podcast about TV. Somehow.
And other stuff.
I guess.
About TV, about our, 1000th power outages. What's another common theme? I'm at a loss now. Rants, sports rants.
You've had a good couple sports rants. Yeah, for sure. So
Marvin's now snuggled up to me, ready to settle in. He's like, I can't believe that you have 100 episodes and that people listen to you guys. He's so supportive.
I can't believe it sometimes anyway, either, Marvin. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in all these episodes, and hopefully we'll just keep on doing them and do 100 more.
Yeah.
So anyways,
we're both super tired.
We're both super tired today. This is like the most low energy, major milestone podcast episode you could have possibly imagined. But we're going to struggle through it. Start out here with, we do have a couple commentaries that we've received from folks. I think we got some comments on my Reese's Peanut Butter Cup take last week.
My friend DJ sent me the following message, all caps, yelling at Daniel with you about Reese's eggs. He is nuts. I agree. Everybody knows that the ratio of peanut butter to chocolate is different from the Reese's cup versus the Reese's egg. Now, we put out a poll on Instagram, and it ended up being split. And I'm convinced that this is why. Those of you who just don't like a favorable peanut butter ratio, or maybe you don't have the chocolate type of sweet tooth, you're probably like, oh, it all tastes the same to me. Well, you guys are so incredibly wrong. The half of you that were correct, bravo. Everybody knows that it is different, I guess, except for half of you. But those of you that were on the right side of history, salute.
My argument was never that the ratio was not different. Just to be clear.
If the ratio's not different, how is it the same, you loser?
It tastes the same. Like,
it does not taste the same
thing.
You get a more peanut butter forward product.
I don't get it.
Somewhere out there, your Annie loves Reese's eggs, I bet.
We also got some comments from Nice Val.
It was the only suggestion that we got about what to do for the 100th.
What to do for the 100th episode.
We didn't do what he asked, but we're going to read what he suggested.
No, he had a couple. He suggested maybe
tired.
we go look up a couple segments and play them from previous episodes. First of all, Hope's WVU tournament snub rant, which was only a couple episodes ago, would make the episode far too long. She went on for like 10 minutes about that.
I feel like I had another really good rant recently about sports, and I don't remember what it was, but that would be the most fresh one.
Yeah. He also mentioned my internal pep talk to myself, psyching myself up for the episode called The Migraine, where
it wasn't a fun episode for me, but
where I
did
did
job.
it by myself because you were incapacitated.
Yes.
So Beth's makeup and hair story. I'm not sure I follow. What did you talk about makeup and hair on here?
I know one time, I don't know if I talked about it, but do you remember I was at the hair salon for one of the power outages that we had, and like the power went out at my salon?
Hope's power outage during her hair appointment. So yeah.
And like one of the best things when you go, especially all the ladies know, I mean, I cut your hair in our kitchen, so you don't count. But when you go to the salon, one of the best things is where the stylist like fixes it for you, like a blowout, curls it or straightens it, because it never looks as good as when they do it. And I basically had to leave the salon with like sopping wet hair and had to, oddly enough, we had power here at the house that day. So then I had to dry it at home. So I missed out on that pivotal experience. But, I mean, there's nothing she could do about it. It was out in the whole town where I get my hair done.
Do you remember what his next one was? What he said is our most popular line?
It was fine.
It was fine.
What else could it be?
And then, of course, the infamous Best Blind Five. Where,
And I've been distrustful ever
you
since.
ranked your favorite college sports team as the Texas Longhorns.
And you know what? I knew he was going to do that, but I decided to see the good in others. And after that, guess what? I don't. I see the bad in others.
Yeah, you've gotten. I think that's what it took to break you of those blind fives and realize that the people
are
were
mean.
intentionally trying to screw you up.
Even my friends.
Yes.
I feel like if we had gone back, like what he suggested, and we had time and we weren't so tired and burnt out from life to pick some of our favorite episodes, mine would be the one where you did ships with ships, like the Star Trek ships. I don't remember what one it was. You've probably done that multiple times.
I don't know where that would be. It's out there somewhere.
And then, of course, I like all of your Hallmark Christmas commentary.
Yeah, well, I don't want to go back and relive that.
Well, it won't be long. I mean, what is it, like June's like the 6-month mark till Christmas, and Hallmark starts celebrating Christmas in October. Now, we don't till November 1st, but...
Speaking of Christmas movies, you actually made me purchase a Christmas DVD recently.
I did. Okay, so I've been watching Desperate Housewives, and Vanessa Williams shows up in like the last 2 seasons. I honestly wish she was in more seasons because she's so awesome. And I was like, this reminds me of a Christmas movie I used to watch. VH1 used to air it every year. And I think sometimes they would do like kind of a modified version and then even put it on Hallmark. But I always watched it on VH1. And it's about Ebony Scrooge, and she's a singer, and it's called A Diva's Christmas Carol. It's got Chili from TLC as like the Jacob Marley character. I don't know if they call her like Jessica Marley or something. They like change her name a little bit. And it was like one of my favorite movies to watch at Christmas. I'm sure I think that's what we need to kick off the 2025 holiday season with. I might be changing my mind until then.
But you were like, oh, I can't even. You probably
must have this movie.
You probably can't even find it. And
they don't air it anymore.
I just
on TV.
went to Amazon and typed in the name of the movie, and there it was on DVD.
They used to play it like literally like every year, and people have asked. There's other people because I was trying to find clips of it on YouTube. You know what else am I going to do on random March day? But look up old Christmas movies made for TV movies, and other people were like, I have not been able to find this. And with all the silly stuff that you buy, I was like, try to track this down. I really thought it would be difficult, but it wasn't.
You know what I did find the other day?
Scrubs, because you've been having a hard time finding that.
Scrubs is difficult. You got to be willing to buy pre-owned seasons off eBay that may or may not work.
Yeah, it might be all
to get Scrubs, because they do not have it's not in print at the moment. I found the first 2 seasons of Whose Line Is It Anyway?
I never really liked that show. My parents watched that show.
That show's amazing.
Everybody I know that watched that show is like old. Like I didn't know like anybody our age, except for you, that watched it. That I know that Wayne Brady is in it, right?
Yeah, he's on it.
All I ever think about when I think of him is the Dave Chappelle thing. Which I'm not gonna say.
Yeah. So. Well, hey, we did come up with a little something to celebrate our 100th anniversary, 100th episode with. We looked back at a couple of our favorite sitcoms and picked out, especially the ones that made it for a while, and kind of looked at what was the 100th episode. Some shows, it seems like, did a special thing. Some shows didn't. It was an episode without any real continuity to it from that perspective of that milestone. But it is kind of a big deal to get to 100 episodes. And these days, a rarity that you almost never see. Yeah. Shows that are new, coming on now in the last probably, I'd say, 10 years, getting to 100 episodes would be like a 10-year run. Like,
unless you're still like doing the old classic format, like, I mean, what is Grey's Anatomy on their 1,000th episode at this point? Because that show's been on the air forever. But like Abbott Elementary, Ghosts, those are sitcoms, and they still kind of have, unless I think Abbott Elementary was a little bit impacted by the strike. But as a whole, I feel like they tend to have like 20-some episodes.
They're getting up to 20 still? Okay.
Yeah, and I feel like Ghost does too. So it's going to be easier for shows like that, which those are the more traditional type of sitcoms. but like shows like Righteous Gemstones, or comedy,
Yeah.
not a sitcom, which it's not going to get. I don't think it'd be
No, it
100.
won't.
Yeah, all these like new type of shows like Severance, all that stuff,
They'll
unless
never
it
get
lasts
there.
for years.
Well, so if you're a 10 episode season,
Yeah.
you got to be on for 10 years.
Yeah.
For 10 seasons. It's interesting when we went through how a lot of these shows we're looking at now were 90s, early 2000s,
Sitcoms.
and they all kind of came in somewhere around season 5, early season 5.
Almost all of them were season 5. Some of them even like the same week and time frame, and that does make sense if they're having, like you said, those 20 plus episode seasons.
Yep. So started off here, Friends, of course, the one with the triplets.
And the 100th, also known as the one with the triplets, is the 3rd episode of Friends' 5th season and 100th episode overall. It first aired on the NBC network in the United States on October 8th, 1998. I'm pretty sure I remember watching that live because I watched Friends as it aired. And let's see, notable things. That's the start of Mondler, but they're still keeping it a secret from everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that like it's also right after Rachel told Ross that she loved him, and he was like, oh, I can't. So Rachel tries to get her and Monica to go out with like some nurses or something, and Chandler gets really jealous. I remember that, but the main thing I remember is Phoebe's regular doctor is out, so she has a bunch of different doctors come in, and there's the Happy Days doctor.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want somebody saying I'm dilated a Mundo. And then I remember the Phoebe's brother coming out and telling everybody, Chandler's a girl!
Yeah.
Chandler's a girl! Because remember that in the previous season they agreed to name one of the babies Chandler. They thought it was going to be a boy. What
Correct.
sticks out with you for that episode?
So when they're trying to hook up with the nurses, that's not the same one where they brought in George Clooney and the other guy from ER, right? That was an earlier
That's
season.
the one where Rachel doesn't have insurance.
Okay,
I think.
okay. So yeah, I think that the Fonz for sure
Yeah.
was the thing to me that's just like he has to
Fonz.
have Happy Days on the TV as he delivers the babies.
Yeah. And I think that one too is where Joey ends up getting the kidney stone and he has to pass it. So we have like
it is kidney stones.
kidney stone. So we have the scene of like Phoebe having the babies looking at them, and then we've got Joey, and I think Ross is with Joey helping him out
Yeah.
in
So
that
was good.
situation. That's a pretty good episode of Friends, I would say. Really funny. Also kind of sad because at the end, Phoebe doesn't get to keep the babies
Yeah,
because
sure.
they're not hers. So it's kind of a bummer, but all right. Next episode, Daniel, what do we have?
Everybody Loves Raymond, season 5, episode 3, The Wallpaper.
And for some reason, when we lazily made this list, I did not copy the original air date for this episode
Oh well.
or the description, but all I know is, Marie
She
drives the car
it's just
into Ray
yeah.
Deborah's house.
Yeah, that's all you need to know.
And then they try to change, the wallpaper, but that's the moment where Ray finally decides to like snap.
So they drive the car through the house, and so Marie and Frank
Agree
get
to
it,
pay for it, right?
agree to pay for it and get it fixed, but they don't replace the wallpaper exactly right. And Ray just that's the final straw for
Yeah.
Ray, and he loses it.
And
yells
that's
at
for
him.
what's for Deborah was like, I think this will work, but she's always on him like, when are you going to stand up for yourself to your family? And it's that little detail that he just like flips out. I just remember like how casual Frank and Marie were as they drove into the home.
Yeah.
They were always funny.
No, that it's one of those things where a show like Everybody Loves Raymond, the main character's name is in the title. Frasier, the main character's name is in the title, but the people that really run, like the people that drive the engine of the show are not them. And Frank and Marie are the engine that that Everybody Loves Raymond drives on.
This would have been way before the 100th, but my favorite Frank and Marie moment is the Christmas episode with the toaster.
Oh yeah.
Where she's like, I'm not just some trophy wife. I can contribute. And he's like, what contest in hell did I win? It's a
All
great,
right.
it's a great one to add to
Next
your
up, we've
holiday
got
list.
The Middle. They were very creative with the title of this episode, The 100th, season 5, episode 4.
Yes, and we do have a description of this one. Mike and Frankie begrudgingly agree to drive a giant cow float in a parade as the town of Orson also celebrates its 100th anniversary. Sue tries to make Darren jealous. That must have been during the Sue and Darren era. I'm team Sue and Sean, even though Darren was funny.
Yeah, no question.
The
I
Thanksgiving,
didn't like Darren that much.
the Thanksgiving episode where they go to the restaurant and Darren like tries to wipe off his ranch-covered turkey and his water and give it to Mike.
Okay, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
You're a ranch dressing.
I would not put ranch on Thanksgiving
you
turkey.
love ranch dressing, but you wouldn't dip turkey into ranch dressing.
I've got
right?
to draw the line somewhere. That would not be a game. So this episode, I do remember the parade a little bit, and obviously Mike and Frankie are arguing while they're driving the cow. We should have watched this because we didn't remember all the details. And I do remember Sue and like trying to make Darren jealous, like her and Brad. I think don't they sing like a song from Grease? Just like randomly.
Yeah.
I feel like The Middle is such a good sitcom overall, though. I feel like more people should watch The Middle. It's so underrated, but it's so good.
Oh, The Middle's great. Yeah.
And when you talk about, a lot of times I feel like actors get typecast into roles. I absolutely see Frankie Heck and Deborah Barone as two entirely separate people, even though they're both played by Patricia Heaton.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like they are not the same.
Like
she
not
is
at
not
all.
playing this. She's not just playing an older Deborah Barone.
No.
In The Middle, it's a completely.
Who would you
Frankie
rather
is a
hang out
complete-
with?
Oh, Frankie.
Frankie all day long.
No
Me
question.
too. I mean, you have to understand. I get why Deborah is uptight the way she is when she's got, living next door to Ray's parents. But Frankie, as a whole, just seems way more fun, even when she is arguing with Mike.
And we got one more, but there's controversy here.
Not our controversy.
Frasier, of course, is one of our favorite shows. And so we wanted to
Obviously.
talk about the 100th episode of Frasier. So I go to look it up, and Season 5, Episode 5, air date November 11th, 1997, the 1000th show comes up. But then we go doing some digging, and that says it's episode 101. So I had to go... I did more extensive research on this than I probably should have for a stupid
I
thing.
gave up, actually. I was
Basically,
like,
the
I'm done.
episode prior to this one was a two-parter. And the internet is completely unsure of how to treat those two-parter episodes.
And the two-parter, is that the one where Niles has the Halloween party?
Correct, yes.
And we find out Roz is pregnant?
Yes.
And Niles tries to propose thinking that Daphne's the one that's pregnant.
Yes. And so it would so that episode would have aired in real time, like in an hour block instead of a half an hour block. And so the show creators
would it have?
Yeah, well, the show creators here is the description of the 1000th show, which is art imitates life in the 100th episode of Frasier. So the writers treat this episode as the 100th episode, even though now, 20 years later, the internet has broken that into two because you watch it in two episodes.
So is that one that would actually be considered the 100th, where he's missing one of his tapes of his
he's
show?
He's celebrating his 1000th radio episode, and he keeps a tape of every show in a drawer, and he's missing one. And he's trying to track down what happened to it. Where
and he has
it
to
went.
go to that crazy person's house,
He
right?
goes to that crazy guy's house who records all his stuff to try and get it, and
it kind of makes Frasier realize like, oh, maybe he's being a little nutty. I think.
Mm-hmm. That he's being a little crazy about.
I always relate to Frasier when he hyperfixates on something though, because I'm guilty of doing that as well. I feel like what we all remember from Frasier, which would not obviously isn't the 100th. Is the one where they have the Frasier Crane Day and they actually filmed in Seattle. Yeah. Which that would have been way later, right?
Yeah, that was later, yeah.
All right. Well,
that could have been 200th. I'd have to look. I mean, Frasier and Friends are shows that got up to 200 episodes.
Yeah, I think there's
We'll talk about those in a couple years.
There's 10 seasons of Friends, and I think Frasier actually has 11. Yeah.
And so if you're doing 25 to 26 episodes a season, you're getting over that quicker than you are these days, when you can barely even get to 50 episodes. 50 episodes is a huge milestone now.
I feel like we did look through New Girl, and it wasn't a particularly remarkable episode. I believe it also was in season 5, though. Yeah. When Jessica...
It'd have been a little later, but
Jessica comes back from jury duty, and I think that's the same episode that she and Megan Fox are in.
Okay.
Is it Reagan?
Yeah.
I feel like... Yeah, there wasn't... We tried to look up some other stuff, and nothing really particularly stuck out to us.
No, some shows don't seem to like try and make an event of it. I think,
Yeah, it's just
whatever. So
just like this.
just like this episode, it is
whatever.
It's, you know what? It's fine.
It's fine.
We have watched a little bit of TV this week. After we got over the loss of Severance and not being able to watch that.
I was gonna say that too, but you said wait first. I was like, oh.
We had to wait all weekend, all Sunday, all the way until 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time to watch The White Lotus, Season 3, Episode 7.
Basically, Sunday is Walton Goggins night, for those of you that don't know.
I saw a little bit too much of Walton Goggins this week, though.
Not in The White Lotus, though.
No, not in The White Lotus.
All right, so this episode, a lot happened, but I do feel, and a lot happened and a lot was revealed, but that being said, I felt like it was kind of a little calmer from the ick of the previous episode, if that makes any sense, but still a lot of things going on. So we've got Rick. He's with Sam Rockwell, and they're at the lady's house that owns the hotel so he can meet the man that supposedly killed his father. I'm team that is his father.
Oh, yeah, I think that's
100%.
going to, yeah, I think that's what we're going to find out.
I have been on that side of it the whole time, so Sam Rockwell is he just brought in for, like, the comedy. We've got this, like, serious, intense conversation with Rick and her husband. Yeah. And then we've got Sam Rockwell pretending to be some like Hollywood director with a woman, and he's like, oh, that's like Peter Pan meets Michael Jackson meets Pippin. And then we've got Rick being like, didn't he like mention his mom's name? And the guy did repeat his mom's name and was like, oh.
Yeah, I think the guy recognized the name. But
instead of shooting him, he did the right thing and just casually pushed the old man out of his chair. My question is, are they going to return to the hotel? Because now what's going on?
Well, yeah, because
Chelsea's still at the hotel.
Chelsea's at the hotel, and they own the hotel.
Yeah.
And the way Rick got to meet this guy is by convincing his wife, the owner of the hotel, that they wanted to put her in a movie. Yeah. So she knows where he's staying. So
but he hasn't returned yet because he and Sam Rockwell's character decided to go out and party.
Yeah. Well, so basically,
I hope that Rick doesn't cheat on Chelsea.
Yeah, at this point in the show, so we all know from episode 1, a shootout is going to take place in the hotel. Yeah. And now, because next week's the last episode.
Yes.
At this point, and we'll talk about the other storylines, here in a second, it is feasible that you could believe that just about everybody wants to shoot somebody.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so who's it going to be? And I guarantee it's going to be out of left field.
I really do you think one of the monkeys is going to, though? Like what TikTok says?
I've seen a popular theory on that. I don't think they're going to do that.
I don't think so either. They did focus a lot on the monkeys in this first
early,
episodes,
but they haven't for a while.
I mean, they showed like the monkey statue at the beginning of this one. I did like how this episode, I call it an ADHDer's dream, because it was like one scene clip, and it wasn't just so focused. And I could see some people being annoyed by that. I liked the pacing, and I liked how they had the fight scenes interspersing between each scene.
Well, because everybody was in conflict to a certain extent in this episode.
So we have the 3 ladies. We've got Lori that basically just totally called Jacqueline out. Mm-hmm. Then we've got Kate still trying to make nice, so that they're just crumbling. But Lori, I feel like even though what Jacqueline said was mean to Lori, let's just go ahead and get into her storyline now. In a way, there was some truth to it, even though Jacqueline was a little rude about it. She was like, if you keep drawing the short stick in life, do you really have bad luck? And I was like, what a mean thing to say. But then Lori turns around and makes some terrible decisions. At least when Jacqueline hooked up with, by the way, his name's not Nico, it's Valentine.
Yeah.
I don't know why we called him Nico.
Is anybody in the show named Nico?
No.
Okay.
If you're a longtime listener of this show, you'll know we're bad with names. Okay. So when Jacqueline hooked up with Valentine, she did it like at the hotel security. Well, Lori just goes off to this Valentine's friend's apartment, I'm assuming. First, she's accepting beverages from him that he hands to her because she decided to abandon the girls and go to the fight.
Yeah.
So she just goes to like his apartment, and he clearly has a girlfriend or something. So that's just a bad decision right there. And then we find out, which we already kind of knew this because the world's worst security guard finally formed a thought.
Yeah, so he and Mook, at the fight also was
Apparently
Mook.
Mook threw him a bone and they're on a
Yeah,
date.
and the security guard, and they're having their first date, and they go eat, and then they're at the fight. And
Do you think she likes him? Or do you think maybe she wants somebody with job security? I thought she was never going to go out with him, so that surprised me.
I don't know. I still think there's something to her that hasn't been revealed yet.
Agreed. So they're at, like you said, they're at the fights.
He sees Lori.
Yeah.
He sees Valentine and his friends, and he recognizes one of the friends as one of the guys who robbed him.
Yes.
And then he starts to put it together.
And that is one of the ones. So I think, just as we thought, I do think Valentine drove up to distract him, and then his buddies came in and did it. I don't think Valentine is some innocent flower whatsoever. So Lori's straight up is trying to escape out the window of this guy's place after they hooked up, and she sees all the jewelry. So we have two people that know. Lori knows, and is his name Gadok?
Gadok, yeah.
He knows. So my money on the two of them, just based on him trying to get the gun from Timothy, is I feel like she's more willing to say something about it than he is.
For sure,
At this point, I don't know. So she makes some poor choices, but the big reveal is we know who robbed. The question is, what's he going to do about it?
My guess is instead of doing what he should do, which is go to his boss and say, hey, I was at the fight the other night and I saw this guy and he looks exactly like the guy who robbed us. And oh, by the way, he was hanging out with one of our employees. He is going to, because of what's been put into his head this entire season about stepping up and being a man, he's going to try and solve it on his own, and it's going to work out poorly.
It's not a great idea. I'm still sus, like you said. I'm still sus about Mook. So let's go over to Timothy and Queen Victoria. Timothy, you were waiting for that scene of him to look for the gun.
Yeah.
At this point, Timothy feels like he's going to have to off his whole family because he had a conversation with Saxon where Saxon was like, I'm nothing without this job. I need this job. What's going on? So he's like, oh, crap, I'm going to have to kill my wife because I just don't think at this age I'm meant to live an uncomfortable life. So you said that the moment he hid the gun, you were like, I can't wait for the scene where he tries to find it and is going through all the drawers. Did that scene deliver?
Yeah, it did. They did exactly. That's exactly what I would have done. Just suddenly this panic of like, wait, is it in what? Maybe I forgot which one I put it in.
Yeah.
And he just ends up like pulling them all through to try and find it and realize it's not there.
I think it's insane how he takes Victoria's pills with no water. He just fully just raw dogs that pill.
Yeah, like I can't if I have
seen you
to
do that with ibuprofen.
If I have to do it, like if I'm hurting bad and I have no other option, I can, but it's not something I prefer to do.
I need like a good amount of liquid to get
my preference is
down.
a nice cold beverage to go along with my pills.
Yes, I feel like that's most people. So Victoria, I feel like she's getting a little more sassy without the pills, but still delivering us great lines. Every episode, Parker Posey has amazing lines. So we all know Gary Gregg wants Belinda and all these people to come to this party. So Saxon comes and tells, his parents, we're going to do this party. And she's like, the boat people? But then she goes anyway, and she goes over and talks to one of the pretty girls that was on the boat. And she's like, come to North Carolina with me. She's basically like, we can get you set up with a respectable, nice, rich man. So that was iconic, legendary. And then my favorite scene of her, she's in bed in her little nightgown and she's praying. And Timothy's like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm praying that Piper has a miserable time and that Jesus will get her away from these Buddhists. Just please protect her at all costs because she's hilarious.
I think she's safe.
I hope so. I sure hope so. So back to the party. Now Belinda, Gary Gregg basically comes up to Belinda and he more or less says like, oh, so you recognize me. Believe me, I wanted a fresh start. I didn't kill my wife, but I'll give you all this money because I know Tanya said that you wanted to start a business. My opinion, that's not him being generous. That's him being shut your mouth money.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So do you agree with Belinda's son that she should go ahead and take the money? She said she had to sleep on it. I
think you got to take it and you got to get out of there. Whether you take the check from him and don't do anything with it because you feel bad because it's...
Like she said, though, she's like, that could make me an accomplice to murder. I would say not. Maybe take the money, leave,
what's the guy
then go to
gonna
the cops
do?
and give them
What's
the
the
check.
guy going to do to you if you refuse to take it? Is the
Yeah.
question? Is it like that's what her son said? Is basically like he's going to try and kill you if you don't.
Couldn't she just take it, go fly home, and then report everything she knows to the cops and just give them the money?
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. So that party was weird. What was? I'm very confused about Chloe's reveal to Chelsea and Saxon saying that
Gary Gregg wants to watch.
Does he have an Oedipus complex?
He wants to watch.
Because he said he used to watch his parents.
Yeah.
When he was younger. What?
He likes to watch.
See, I've thought that he wanted Saxon and Lachlan to be on the boat so he could be like, hey, I saw what you two were doing. And he knows their family's rich and blackmail them for money. But maybe that's not the case. Chelsea's facial expressions, every scene are just me. So, like, what? So Chelsea and Saxon, like, go off. And he's like, because she told him, you don't have a soul. You're soulless. And she, like, tries to help him meditate and give him books. But then, of course, Saxon's not changed. He tries to instantly, like, touch her hands more. And I think sometimes where people have been violated, they try to take back the power by maybe doing it to somebody else. But he did listen to her when she was like, no.
Yeah, I think he's a guy, through the experiences that he's had on the episode, he's a guy on the edge of, like, teetering on the edge of which way am I going to fall here? What lesson, from all of this that's happened to me, what lesson am I going to learn? Is it a good lesson or is it a bad lesson? Because he was also saying...
He almost had me convinced for a second.
He was saying, like, I have nothing. But it's recognition... Okay, that he needs to change as a person, but then he goes trying that stuff with Chelsea, and you wonder, okay, what's he really going for?
He almost had me convinced that he was trying to find something new in life, and then I was like, oh no, no. And Chelsea, I have a new take on her. I think that while she says Rick's her soulmate, I think she likes a project. She likes somebody damaged. I think she can't stand Saxon, but I do think this episode, by the way she hurriedly rushed out of the room, I think she can't stand him, but she's low-key into him. Yeah. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Well, because like...
My Aries girl, I see you, girl.
Rick is off doing his thing. She doesn't know exactly what's going to happen to him, and this kid could be another project. Yeah.
And that's why she kind of sprinted out of the room. So, Lachlan and Piper... Nothing weird. Thank goodness. No more flowers in the attic like activity among siblings. But I think we have it confirmed that Piper just wants to escape from her family because Lachlan mentioned, he was like, maybe I'll stay too. And her reaction to that was not great.
I don't even know if it's necessarily an escape for her family as just being, she goes and she just stays at this monastery for a year, and now she's got that thing that interesting thing about her to feel special about. But if he comes and does it too, then it's not special anymore.
Because I'm getting the impression that he is the really smart one of the three siblings.
Yeah.
The way they've behaved.
I feel that way too, yeah.
So I don't know. Her whole vibe was off. And then Daniel's like, oh, do they get their own rooms? I could probably stay somewhere like this. And I just turn and I say, you want to stay in some dirty monastery with a bunch of kids with no purpose?
It's unclear to me if everybody gets their own room or if they're just in rooms because they're visiting, but they're not actually staying the full time. Because I imagined they were going to be in this like hostel.
Piper, no!
Like this hostel room with just a bunch of bunk beds and everybody was laying in there.
No, I just don't think I'm meant to live in a comfortable life.
So they built a bunch of tension with this episode. It was a slower paced episode, but they built tension to the next episode where we find out who's shooting who's dead.
And have you seen the preview for it?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
The preview has the infamous blender again and the mentioning of poisonous fruit. And I'm like, is Timothy going to prep some Killjoy smoothies for his whole family? Like at this point, like my poor Timothy. And you had some really good observations about Timothy that you shared with me earlier today. Do you remember what you said?
Yeah, well,
about what he's going through.
His every single person in his family. Maybe Piper hasn't so much. The two younger ones haven't, but his wife and his oldest son, they very much made it a point to have conversations with him. Say your value is your job. Yeah. Your value is the money that you're bringing into this family. With Tim, of course, knowing that when he gets back to America, things are going to be bad. There's going to be an investigation.
He screwed up.
He screwed up. but he's only looking he's only looking at a couple months in jail with a plea deal, and it's like that's honestly getting off pretty good.
Yeah.
But because of the implications of that, he won't be able to work in the job that he has anymore. He won't be bringing the income anymore, and the things that his wife has said about not being able to not live a comfortable life, and his son saying my job is all that I am, and and by the way, the only reason I have my job is because of you. So if you aren't capable, you know what I mean? Like it's all gone. And so it's commentary on him as a man feeling like there's a lot of pressure on men in this society to be, to be a value. And the only way that a lot of people, or a lot of either perceive it or we perceive it upon ourselves, is the way we bring value is having a job that brings in money. And there aren't other ways that we can be valued and loved. And so I think that's what they're trying to, the commentary that they're having with his character in particular.
Speaking of which, one, I'm okay that he's not valued and loved because of the hotel manager, his response to Belinda's concern about the police where he just dismissed her.
Yeah.
I'm cool with him not being valued and loved, but I thought he'd get a little more love. He was so excited to sing, and that's what instantly during his performance they cut out and we got the trio of ladies arguing.
I almost think, because I've seen a couple people make TikTok videos about how the managers of the hotels in the previous 2 seasons were much more prominent and interesting characters, and this character at every turn is getting cut off, and that to me is the gag of this season. I
don't like the way he handled Belinda when she came to him with concerns. He was basically like, police, no, you go help our rich guests. Like, it was very annoying to me.
Well, that's what he's been told to do.
I guess so. I don't know. I think that we're in for a wild ride for episode 8, and I'm excited about it.
I'm excited, but then the darkness begins of we lose another show, and to go to our next show,
more Walton Goggins,
the Righteous Gemstones. We're still going to have to wait until 10 p.m. on Sunday night for this one.
We went ahead and stayed up and watched the most recent episode. So we're going to talk about Gemstones season 4, episodes 3 and 4. Because if the Righteous Gemstones, if this wasn't the last season, it would be my best thing going. Because while I love Severance, at your core, your girl likes to laugh. And I think this show is now elevating above Schitt's Creek to me as the funniest comedy I've ever seen. It's definitely not for everybody.
No.
But just Judy Gemstone, no one crashes out better than my girl. I know this was I think it's the season 2 episode where she's talking about her and BJ's wedding, and she's like, we did it Nike style, dog. We're fun kids. We're win babies. And Prince Eric, Ariel's boyfriend, the hottest guy in the Disney catalog. And it just, I don't know, every time she rants, I don't know how the actress gets through it with a straight face. One thing that she said at the end of the most recent episode we watched, which I'm not going to repeat because this is a family show, I just don't know how they did it. So
I don't know how they get through these lines that they're given. Yeah.
All right, so we got Megan Mullally coming on as was Lori's best friend, and she and Eli are hooking up. She is the mother. I don't know what her son's name is. I'm just going to call him Stifler. Because Sean William Scott, he seems like he's an okay guy on the show, but I've never seen Sean William Scott play somebody that's not a Stifler type character. I don't trust him at all. What about you? I'm not sure I trust her either.
I have a wild theory.
What's your wild theory?
Is
your theory my theory that they're related to Hargreaves that the Gemstones stole from years down the line and they're like long distance relatives?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I'm not connecting any of it to the Prelude episode, which is probably a problem.
Love child? That he might be Eli might be his daddy? I don't think so on that either. I don't think Eli would cheat on Amy Lee.
I think this is a Baby Billy ruse. Who did she show up with in the first when she showed up in this season in episode 2?
She showed up with Baby Billy?
She was on the go-kart with Baby Billy. He drove her in and said, "Hey, look who I found." Okay? I think Baby Billy's up to something to try and get Eli to cause friction so he can slide his way in.
Well, that's how anytime the Gemstone kids get along, it's when they're mad at Daddy.
Yeah. Yes. And so I think Baby Billy may be putting a wedge in here to try. I don't know what his end is, but if you recall, he was a foil in season 1 and then kind of got just
Then explain to me at the end of at the end of episode 3, when Lori, that's her name, she goes back into like the old recording room and she put on Amy Lee's glasses. It seemed to me that it was very sinister, like almost like single white female thing going on.
Right, and I'm not saying that there isn't something weird going on with her in that respect. But I think Baby Billy might be pushing. Not necessarily
pushing the relationship.
Yeah, like pushing the relationship for some reason.
Eli's extremely lonely, and I think maybe he sees a part of Amy Lee in Lori.
Yeah.
That being said, the most recent episode, they go to the family lake house, the vacation home. I was a little like, I would not have reacted the way the kids did with Keith dressing up as the ghost of Amy Lee and getting into bed with him. But like, I would be mad too to move the clothes out of the closet. I thought Eli was a little cold.
Oh, come on. Hope. Those clothes weren't in the closet.
You don't think so?
The kids had those clothes put back into the closet so that it would then.
That.
Yeah, no. Because why do you think they were sitting out there waiting?
I don't know.
They knew the clothes were going to be in there because they had the clothes put in there on purpose.
This is where I'm just too pure of heart.
Yeah. That was part of their plan.
So what do you think? Lori, good or bad, or we don't know?
I think there's definitely, like, they wouldn't have shown that scene of her walking into Amy Lee's recording studio and putting on her glasses and being creepy if they didn't intend to do that.
I need Nick Offerman to show up as her former
He's
lover.
got to be Mike, right?
I thought it was Rick.
What
was his name?
I don't know.
That she was seeing?
I can't repeat the rest of his name. The part I actually remember, but
that'd be great.
That's got to be Nick Offerman. If he's not in it as that person, then I don't know what to do.
You just don't bring in Megan Mullally for like a bit role. Like she's something maybe, and even if it's not bad, something bonkers. I did like how Eli and
this is the bonkers part.
The 4th episode told Amber to shut up.
Yeah, that was good.
And all the kids were like, they were all mad at him, but they were like, just I feel like I can't repeat the jokes on here because
it's hard to talk about that show on a podcast that we try to refrain from cursing. Yes.
Little things that I like because he didn't have it in a wine glass, but he was still drinking it. So I love how every scene at dinner or a meal, especially the dinner scenes, BJ always has a goblet of milk.
Yeah.
He's always drinking milk, and you'll see him swirl it. I've even seen him like sniff at the milk sometimes. Do we think BJ's going to be my husband's an invalid, Daddy? Do you think he's going to be in the wheelchair forever?
Listen, if at some point in this season we don't see a redemption pole dance from BJ, then I don't know what we're doing.
We need to have a redemption pole dance, and I need a Keith and Kelvin wedding.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to get that.
Okay, so the reveal in episode 3 where the kids found out that they were doing it. Daddy, you slut! And then each of their spouses or like partners were comforting. So Keith's like, oh, there, my sweet prince. And I'm like, that's what I call Marvin. I call him my sweet prince, but that's what Keith calls Kelvin.
The actor that plays Keith got ripped.
He did. He's always been muscular, but he is very ripped.
He is ripped.
I didn't expect him to put on Amy Lee's clothes, try to pretend that he's a ghost, crawl into bed with Eli and Lori and be like, Mama told me not to.
And then get the crap kicked out of him by Baby Billy's nanny.
Who is like German or something.
Yeah.
You're supposed to nan. He's like, you know. So you did, okay, now you can say you saw, what was Baby Billy like, where you saw too much
at the beginning of the episode, like we end White Lotus. And then immediately we go into Righteous Gemstones, and it's Baby Billy water skiing naked. And again, I want to make sure it's very clear. I'm going to say this into the mic as hard as I can. Full frontal male nudity.
And apparently Walton Goggins, this is what I read some behind the scenes stuff, is he wrapped up filming White Lotus, and he said literally within hours he flew back and was ready to be Baby Billy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
See, I don't want him to be. I think he has nefarious, like, jealousy intentions, but I don't think he's 100% bad. I think we've shown enough that Baby Billy did love Amy Lee.
I agree.
He did love his sister. I think Eli's thing right now is loneliness, and then everybody. There's often conversations of, do you think Eli really believes in the higher power? I think for him, like, I think Amy Lee definitely did, and I think Eli believed in Amy Lee. And I think that you just seen the fallout of this family for the serious notes of what it's like, not with the kind of their core, the good in each of these characters, each little piece of good comes from her.
I think every family
I feel like that.
And I think anybody that's got a family can say there's that person.
It would be traumatizing that when the kids did walk in on Eli and Miss Lori.
There at the end of episode 4, yeah, that was traumatizing for sure.
Gosh,
I knew it was going to happen.
scene.
Like I knew it was going to happen
Me
when they were walking
too.
up there to tell him to apologize. I knew they were going to walk through that door. And
Daddy,
that was what's going to be happening.
I'm not going to say what he had on him, but just the way Judy starts crying and delivering that line, and then they're all crying. I don't know how they get through this. I do like that the siblings are working together, though, because their common thing is we got to break Daddy up. You know, and I have to say, that would be weird to have, like, not only if you're not dating someone new, but dating somebody that you took family vacations with, that you grew up with, that you saw as, like, almost a pseudo-aunt. That wouldn't be just, like, some random woman. That would be somebody that you had such a connection with. Like, that would be odd. I think it would be weird. I'd probably have myself a Judy Gemstone crash out, too. Get the heck out of Dodge. Go to Malibu so I can surf.
Anything else on Gemstones?
It's just so good. I find it hilarious. I had a dream about Danny McBride, so that man is just in my head now. I want to watch. I gotta I want to go back and finish Vice Principals now, and I think I just want to see all his
entire body of work.
Yes.
You reminded me, like, it is interesting to think about that Prelude episode has got to play in somehow, because we saw that episode, and then we saw a flashback episode later where Kelvin was dreaming, and then somebody had broke in and stole that Bible from the first episode. So you've got to wonder, it has to tie in somehow. And you've got to think at this point it's going to tie in to, you know, Judy Lee's friend, Megan Mullally's character, and her son.
Amy Lee.
Yeah, Amy Lee, whatever. So I don't know.
All right. Well, speaking of HBO, I've got Hacks Season 4. It's coming back Thursday, April 10th. And we had this conversation. Could it be considered the best thing going? I don't think it's announced yet, but supposedly they have planned a Season 5 arc is what their plans are. So we got to get you caught up. So it won't be a Sunday. It'll be a Thursday. That'll be interesting.
I hope that doesn't mean they're going to stretch story, and Season 4 will be a stretch season.
I don't know, each season of that, I felt like there has been a different type of arc.
Okay.
As most shows do.
I'll get caught up. I'll catch up for sure.
It is really, really good. I know the episodes that you've watched you enjoyed when you came in, but you just don't feel like you don't have the appreciation of the characters like I do.
Sure.
We got to get totally caught up on that. I would say we're sorry, but we're not. We don't have any Suits LA to talk about because we just weren't into it to watch it, which doesn't bode well for the future of that show.
No, it doesn't.
Which every time we watch it, to quote Daniel, it's fine.
It's fine, yeah.
Even when Harvey shows up. I have an announcement. I have 2 episodes remaining of Desperate Housewives.
I also have an announcement.
Yes.
It wouldn't be the 100th episode of our podcast, We Watch TV, if I didn't talk about Star Trek.
I thought you were going to say, thank God, when I only had 2 more episodes of Desperate Housewives left. Anyway, I'll let you talk about Star Trek in a minute. I intend to give you guys my full series review when I finish those, probably for the next podcast. And then you completely threw off my
Good. I didn't want you to talk about it. That's what I did.
Train of thought that I was going to say. I am at a total and utter blank. So go ahead, talk about Star Trek.
Well, I got Season 5 of the Lower Decks DVDs in the mail, so I'm going to be digging into that soon. So everybody can look forward to my thoughts on the final season of the Lower Decks. But also, the rumor mill started twirling today about a release date for Season 3 of Strange New Worlds.
It's about time.
Nothing official from Paramount yet, but a distributor that carries the show overseas, so not Paramount Plus, but somebody else, answered a tweet that said August 1st.
Okay, I can live with that.
Which seems late to me.
I would rather August 1st than like December.
Yeah, at this point it's April and we don't know. So like saying it's going to come out in May seems pretty unreasonable at this point.
Like Hacks dropped their big announcement like, whoa, April. Like, so I could see that, but I don't think that's the way the Paramount shows roll. Now, I know I just said I'd rather have August than December, but I just had me a thought. In the Star Trek universe, do they have Christmas?
Huh.
Hear me out. We have like a holodeck situation where the Star Trek characters act out a Hallmark-style Christmas movie. How great would that be? And it would fit, because all the wacky stuff they do on Star Trek, it would fit.
Although, well, they don't have the holodeck in Strange New Worlds.
Well, whatever.
That timeline doesn't have the holodeck
Maybe they
yet.
get, I don't know how they worked it in that they ended up having to sing in the musical episode, but I have faith.
Wait, okay. So, Star Trek Generations, the 7th Star Trek movie, there's a scene that takes place at There's a Christmas tree in the scene.
I mean, it would, because they're still connected to us as like, as in like America humans, correct? So
yeah.
Christmas.
I mean, Christmas.
It's not like Life Day with Star Wars.
There's no reason that Christmas couldn't still exist in Star
Yeah.
Trek. I'm just at a loss for if there's ever been an episode that directly references Christmas. Generations movie gets the closest that I remember. There's a Christmas tree there, but they don't say anything about Christmas.
All right, hear me out. A Muppet Christmas Carol acted out via Star Trek. So all of our favorite things.
Who's the human? Everybody's played by... Okay, they're Star Trek, Christmas Carol. Everybody's Muppets except for one character.
We bring in James Tiberius Kirk, William Shatner. He would give... Oh my gosh, he might not give the Michael Caine energy, but he put his own unique twist onto the performance.
You're talking Shatner?
Yeah, Shatner.
Yeah, you're right.
I think that Shatner and I have a lot in common when it comes to TV shows. He watches almost all the same shows I watch. I think he's a swell guy. And he can sing. I've heard him sing. Obviously, he has like albums, right?
They're kind of weird.
I was referring to she's beauty and she's grace. She's Miss United States from Miss Congeniality. So, yeah, I feel like in true Hope and Daniel fashion, though, Daniel, this episode has been all over the place. I don't have anything else to say. What about you?
No, nothing for me. I think we're going to call it here. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in and being with us for 100 episodes. And
we look forward to 100 more.
We look forward to 100,000 million more.